Releasing an old game again. With the difficulty to obtain older games, this is starting to become a more commonplace business practice. With the amount of time and money that can be sunk into game development, not starting from scratch is quite an appealing prospect. But there's two pieces of terminology that are often confused, and game developers haven't really done a lot to make them any less confusing. Hi folks, it's Falcon. The confusion over the terminology, and indeed its implications on whether or not something is worth the amount of money that's being charged for it, is why today gameranx asks the question, what's the difference between a remake and a remaster? At E3 2016, Bethesda announced that they're going to be re-releasing their definitive role-playing experience once again, Skyrim, on PC and the new generation of consoles. Now, I'm a huge fan of Skyrim. It's a beautiful game that redefined the expectations that people have going into an open-world RPG, as most big Bethesda releases do. When I heard this news, I was really excited on account I played Skyrim on console. I thought, great, I'm gonna be able to play it again on my PlayStation 4, or my Xbox One. That's not gonna cost me a whole lot because it's an old game at this point. Hell, it might even be free. When they remastered Journey, it was free. I woke up one day and I had it and I was like, you know what? Alright, I'll do this again. And then we saw videos of the Skyrim Remaster, and it looks a lot better. Does it look as good as the PC version with mods installed that make it look way better? No, but it looks a lot better. And it's not like Skyrim wasn't already pretty, but something that's really important to say is that it's obviously still the same Skyrim. It's upgraded, it's pretty, it contains all the DLC, and is a much more expansive game than what was released on 11/11/11, but it's not new. It might look newer, but it's not a new game. The quests are the same, the location is the same, the maps are the same, the people are the same, the recordings of the voice actors are the same.
I used to be an adventurer like you. And I took an arrow in
The weapons are the same, the armor is the same, the bosses are the same, the story is the same. They haven't rebuilt it from the ground up with new content or provided us with a different version of the old content. They've just gone back with current technology and improved upon the old content. And as the name Skyrim Remastered implies, this is a remaster. Now, a remaster, like I said, sounds like it would cost a lot less than the original game because it is an old game and the content is not new. It might look a little bit better. The textures might be HD, there might be a few more polygons in the models. The atmospheric effects are completely different, but the function of the game essentially is to allow you to play it on a different console and give you a version of it that doesn't look ridiculously inferior to everything else you play now. And let's drop a truth bomb here. That's not worth $59. And by the way, PC Master Race, you win this one. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because you get it for free. I mean, if you've bought all the DLC. In fact, that's a huge reason why I wanted to make this video. Not to hand the PC Master Race credit for having the foresight to buy something on an upgradable machine, although credit where credit is due, but rather, I really wanted to talk about the price of a remastered game. I don't care how good you are at remastering something. If you're taking the game and maybe porting it to a new engine, and maybe adding a few more vertices in the polygons, and updating the texture resolution, and including all the DLC, you're still selling me a game that's from 2011. A game that probably 90% of the people that will buy have already played the original game. And being 100% of that 90% who's buying the game a second time are definitely gonna be fans of the game. Probably big ones. They've probably played the DLC too. This is not a reimagining, this is the game. And let me be clear, that is not an attack on the idea of remastering a game. I can tell you this right now, I want a massive amount of games that I've played over the last 20 years to be remastered and given back to me. Because there's a lot of them I don't have the means to play anymore, or don't have a copy of and can't find one. Again, credit where credit's due, PC Master Race, you bought stuff on an upgradable platform. I mean, granted, we have some exclusives that you don't, and that's pretty much the games that we need remasters of, like truly need remasters of, but it was still smart on your part. So we know what a remaster is now. What's a remake? Well, we got a really good example this year in Ratchet and Clank. Now, all the Ratchet and Clank games are a lot of fun, but that's in part because all of them have built on the original's formula. When you go back and play the original game, it's still very good, but if you've played the games that came after it, it does feel kind of empty. But Ratchet and Clank on the PS4 does something that a remaster remaster wouldn't do, and that's incorporate elements from all of its successors and creates a game that is not fundamentally different, but it builds upon it in such a way it's hard to call it the exact same game. Also, it's very clear that it was not built in the same engine or updated to another engine. This was entirely rebuilt. And some of the levels are the same levels from the original, and some aren't. Some are bigger, some are entirely new. And having some of the best abilities from the entire series built into a larger version of the original game with graphics that literally look like a CG movie is what makes Ratchet and Clank a remake and not a remaster. I would say that the new Ratchet and Clank does enough to justify purchasing it again. And at the full price. It's not the same game. It's a much better game if you ask me. Now, there are going to be people that prefer the original Ratchet and Clank that don't like the inclusion of a lot more story, acting, writing, powers, levels, etc., but they wanted Ratchet and Clank to stand up. And it does. It still contains a lot of the old content, albeit in an entirely new way. And although doing a remake of Ratchet and Clank did create some controversy, and also a movie that was based on it that no one really liked, but it's definitely not the most controversial way to do it. The other type of remake is a complete and total reimagining. One that, regardless of the outcome, we are going to be talking about all the way up until its release and probably long after, whether it's good or bad, is Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is being remade in a completely different format from its original. First off, it's an action RPG. It plays more like Final Fantasy XV than the original Final Fantasy VII. It will not retain much of the original's gameplay elements, nor will it retain literally any art assets. It will retain the original story and characters and world, but even that seems to be going through a bit of a redesign. Nothing looks as it did in 1997, in part due to technology and in part due to evolving taste. The game's going to be released over 3 games, actually. Much like the original game was 3 CDs representing the 3 acts of the game, it's going to be a trilogy of games. And let's be honest, this could be really good or really bad. We don't know. But it's certainly not a remaster. And if it's good, it's certainly going to be worth the money. Hell, if it's a train wreck, it might be worth the money just to see what the hell happened. In fact, there aren't really a lot of remakes that happen like that, where you're just kind of, what is going on here? Frankly, a remaster is a much safer idea for the company. It will reliably make some money and doesn't require a massive time and money investment. Remakes like Ratchet and Clank and Final Fantasy VII, though they do dwell on opposite ends of the spectrum as to how close they remain to the original source material, are much riskier. And really, in my opinion, that makes them much more commendable, especially if they come out well, but just that they're trying to do something new with it at all. Yes, it's derivative, but nothing really isn't derivative if you think about it deeply enough. I'm super interested in Final Fantasy VII's remake. Obviously, I want it to be good, but I'm still interested in it if it comes out badly. That's not something I feel over the Skyrim Remaster. And I love Skyrim, and really all Elder Scrolls. But with great risk comes great reward. Also, I'm willing to pay $60 for all 3 Final Fantasy VII games. Well, if they aren't trash anyway. But I'm definitely gonna wait on the Skyrim Remaster until it's like $30 probably. How about you? Are you getting tired of seeing the same games crop up again? Or are you interested in new takes on old classics? I'm definitely the latter rather than the former, but I get it, a lot of people don't much like people messing with their nostalgia. Anyway, let's meet in the comments and have a chat about that. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, and if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero. As always, we thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.